So there is an latest update from a NPP General Secretary. Abusuya aba be release a statement on the Facebook page. Abusuya enye asam keto Accra na update no and update ben. NPP Dr. Bawumia Aid friend no. Miracle Abuaje a ofa baby a NPP communicator kese. Abusuya ene yokufo achi Miracles Abuaje ewo airport. Oma arrest no ewo airport abusuya ene JFK ababe breaking CCA ya Miracle Abuaje abusuya ya kwako arrest no airport yokufo ede na kwako piemu ewo EOCO custody ena ya project say ede atu ye screen no enchen ede amamo no na asema JFK ede tu jane say also release Dennis Miracle Abuaje now. Officers of the EOCO and Organized Crime Office, EOCO, with the help of immigration officers, arrest Dennis Miracle Abuaje at the airport and took into custody. Since then, they have denied his lawyers access and his whereabouts is not disclosed with no charges preferred. Ebusuya asema NPP General Secretary or the tuja or say Dennis Miracle Abuaje no EOCO for ensa etumi asonemo ewo airport with unknown charges. Abusuya intino when breaking news ewo ho a ye de bremo na abutreka ne extradition no honsensem na ne akesefo atenase e de honsem ababetu Ghana de attorney general ekwan aye fa so extradite say abutreka abusuya eba be breaking wa ha e de ma time a chese ne extradition no day na ye extraditing na no ye ba aba be break no ha e de ma mom yanko na yanko tie ensema e course so e fa ne extradition no any secret bi a e wo ho a ye de brem bet Miracle Abuaje ne arrest no break no eno ene ya project e de ato ye screen no enchen e de amam no JFK aba be break e de amai enti no abusu mom yanko na yanko tie ye ba ye de aka beto am so na answer ne be ko Ghana ha say open computer papa and a laptop papa na we use a Bawumia Aid computers and accessories ho and obenya laptop papa na we using the location and yera kwan o Kumasi Chrome estates Eli pick number na egu screen as a friend there e woman say so kra low budget and as a high budget obema high quality laptop na we use mbonra yensem ya ba de akabeto
the surrender and what has happened now. Yes, that's what we don't know.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. So,
yes,
how will you know that? Yeah, how will you know that if you've not allowed the court process to be fully exhausted? I'm just saying that there shouldn't be any rush. July 2nd to 3rd seems to be a rush. That is all I'm saying. Within that 1 week, bam, get on the plane, go. Why?
Well, Jitama Club is here, and whether this is a rush or the integrity of the extradition process, because he's not the only one who has been extradited, at least within this period under review. There's been a number of them based on the information that the United States itself put out. The FBI Assistant Director in charge of operations, Christopher Aram, this $100 million, remember this $100 million matter, that the FBI was looking into these individuals: Isaac Odro-Boateng, Inusa Ahmed, Derek Van Yeboah, Patrick Kwame Asari. These are instances as well that Ghanaians have been extradited and so on. So what is the exact issue with this particular one?
Okay, so I think I want to look at this conversation. It's a very vast one. I want to approach it with a bit of caution, in the sense that usually when a certain notoriety is established, that nationals of a particular country are involved in such organized crime, and if you look at the magnitude of the amounts involved, $100 million, that's huge. It creates a certain urgency within government to show that there are no official complicity in those offenses, and that the named individuals involved are doing it at the level, at their individual level. There's also that tendency, particularly for the Americans, to have this view that because of the wealth that these individuals might have garnered, through this enterprise, obviously unlawful, they might have some influence, which influence usually gets them to, as it were, want to, control the system. And so there's always that posturing by government to try to, as it were, show that, look, you know what, government is not involved. And if there's anything by way of cooperation from government, we are willing to cooperate. That usually comes with unintended consequences, because then you need to do a balancing act beyond respect for due process and also possibly the reputation of the country as well. And I'll tell you a vivid story. If you recall, between 2006, 2007, there was this whole talk about drug in the country. So President Kufuor was under so much pressure. In fact, what actually broke the camel's back was the MV Benjamin saga. So when the MV Benjamin thing came, because apparently the Americans, the Drug Enforcement Agency and co, has shared this intel that they had picked this information that there was a vessel or a ship moving from the South Americans to Ghana, MV Adade. Then subsequently, this intel that was shared got leaked. So the story was that on the high seas, this ship MV Adade was repainted into MV Benjamin to conceal its identity. Eventually, the stories associated with MV Benjamin became a matter of notoriety, to the extent that the president at that time, President Kufuor, was forced to set up the Georgina Wood Committee. You recall? With Georgina Wood Committee, among others, at that time, they used to sit at the Ministry of Interior. So I used to attend the committee, proceedings in that time, 2006 to 2007, thereabout.
Right.
Eventually, what happened was that the committee recommended the prosecution of some individuals and even some law enforcement officers. And for obvious reasons, I do not want to mention their name.
And this is to do with extradition.
Oh, please.
Oh, I'm just saying something you to direct him a bit, because we have references.
Hold on.
Abu Trika, why is...
Hold on.
Look how
you asked the
President Kufuor.
You asked the question. I have asked the question. You
didn't ask that question.
Hold on. Yes.
So the point I am making is that at that time, even the hurried manner in which some individuals were prosecuted raised serious eyebrows. And I remember the prosecution of Tagore, among others in that matter, which eventually got overturned by the Court of Appeal, became a topical issue. Because at that time, the story was that the government was under pressure by the Americans to demonstrate that there was no official complicity. The reason why I'm drawing this analogy is that, you see, when some of these things happen, I don't sit at a certain level in terms of governance.
Absolutely.
I play per my pay grade.
True.
There are some meetings I may not be privy to.
And
but the point I am making is that when you have these kind of scenarios, a lot of things go into it.
Maybe you are the president's lawyer.
I'm coming.
Okay.
When I was coming, the president has.
Let's chat a bit.
Yeah, I know.
This thing, it's all interjection.
it's okay.
You are panicking.
No, he is my man.
Go to the matter.
I am. The president has an attorney general. No, I'm not qualified.
We just want to be educated on the matter.
Yeah, we are going. I'm going there. Senior, why?
Mati,
you are intimidating me. You are intimidating me this morning. So the point I'm making is that, you see, so a lot goes into these questions of extradition. One, you want to look at the image of the government. The government wants to show that they are proactive on these matters. But the challenge is that our constitution is governed by the dictates of due process and the rule of law. And so, in seeking to do this for government, I also believe that due process ought to be respected. And it must be done so aggressively. I am a lawyer. I am putting myself in a situation where I am counsel for Abu Trika. And this had happened. What would be my legitimate response to this?
Absolutely.
Look, and particularly coming from America, it is a country that evangelizes due process. Evangelizes, due process and the rule of law. Particularly respect for human rights. Whilst coming here, I had to reference a case of extradition in the United States Supreme Court, a decision that was delivered 9 December 2025, just last year. It has to do with this famous medical doctor, gynecologist, Dr. Kanayama. It's a very famous case. Kanayama has developed himself one of the foremost experts in gynecology and others, but he's of a Japanese origin, but had permanent residence in the United States of America. Somewhere in 2015, he went to Japan, his home country. And subsequently, the story was that he had, the Japanese are there's this fetish about them, about their shrines. So he had visited 2 of the shrines and purportedly misconducted himself with criminal consequences. So the Japanese, as early as 2016, requested for his extradition from the Americans, that the Americans should help extradite him to Japan to face trial. And usually for the America, the principle is that there must be duality of crime, in the sense that what you are seeking to, as it were, try the person for must be a crime in the U.S. And obviously, I think that test will be passed in Ghana, in the sense that romance, fraud, defrauding by false pretense is an offense there, and is also passed. So that duality test would have been deemed a condition met. But in the specific case of the Japanese one, yes, the Americans felt that the duality idea was also legitimately met. And they were willing to extradite him to Japan. Look, as early as December 2017, Kanayama has fought this extradition for almost 10 years. From 2017 to 2025. Before finally the U.S. Supreme Court allowed that even though he has a permanent residence, that's green card, he's extraditable. And he was eventually extradited to Japan to go and face trial. The reason why I make reference to this Kanayama decision is the fact that even in America, due process is respected.
Absolutely.
And so I have this view at the personal level that to the extent that the basic court granted the order for extradition, however, there was a pending bail application also granted duly by a high court, which bail conditions had been fulfilled. If there was a legitimate notice of appeal against the orders of the basic high court, followed with an application for stay pending that hearing, I think with respect, that ought to have been respected. Before the extradition. And my thinking is that, we also need to show the Americans that we respect the due process requirement just as they do.
Thank you.
Because as we speak today, there's a reason why Ken Ofori-Atta, for instance, is not in Ghana. Why? Government of Ghana wants him here to come and account for his stewardship. But the Americans believe that there's a requirement of due process. They have even gone further to even give him a green card, permanent resident, notwithstanding the pendency of this extradition.
In a different application.
In a different, So my point is that maybe in terms of doing the balancing act, the need to do the extradition and the processes that were legitimately going on in our courts, we could have done a balancing act to say, maybe let's await the outcome of that appellate review. So that if that appellate review, it can be expedited. In this country,
we don't even need to expedite.
No, hold on.
That's for slavery.
It's okay,
It's not
so-
paid for slavery.
I'm coming.
$97
Senior.
trillion.
Yes.
It's not paid. Why are we in a rush to send
you know,
people
President
there?
Mahama is a champion of
Exactly,
this.
and we are not minding him, and he's minding
oh,
them.
no, they are minding him. They are minding him.
America didn't support this.
No, America has its own view.
Exactly, but that's America that we took.
No,
Thank
so,
you.
97 trillion, they owe us.
Thank
so
you.
the point I am making is that we could have done a balancing act with a different outcome, which outcome would actually imply just allowing the basic court and the appellate review to have happened, so that regardless of what the outcome will be, but where in this case it does appear that the process has been truncated by this one looks more like a rendition.
Exactly, it's a rendition.
In the sense that it is a removal to come and face trial. As we speak, there's a member of parliament duly elected by his people.
Asante Achim.
Asante Achim.
He succeeded
on the Apia
Kubi.
No, he
defeated.
defeated
me out of this.
He defeated and the Apia Kubi.
Take me out of this.
No,
No, we
but I
are
think
just
that's
using it
fact.
as a point of reference. Even in church.
His point of reference are very cheap.
But I think it's just a
Yes.
matter of fact.
But I'm sure today, if you offer that seat to Honorable, you feel that the pressure of him has come down significantly, and he's looking like you are saying very young. The pressure alone can even put gray on you. But the bottom line, and I want to make this argument, is that I am not aware of any quid pro quo arrangements with the government of the United States of America by way of loans or any other thing. I want to strongly believe that this is a position by government to basically show that there are no official
Martin will have to show
complicity
us how
in some of these organized crime. It is also, I strongly believe, government's way of sending a message of its that there is zero tolerance for some of these offenses. That there is no way government of Ghana is going to shield any person who is found to have engaged in such conduct or misdeed. What is important and very good is that at least where Abu Trika is going, the United States of America, is a country where there is great respect for due process and human rights, particularly anchored on fair trial. And I want to believe that in America, he will get all the reasonable facilities required for him to prepare his defense.
True.
The American courts are such that they take issues on human rights strongly. Look, there is this Diego Garcia or something guy in America that President Trump has done everything humanly possible, executive possible, to have him extradited or removed because he's an illegal immigrant or something. The American courts have, without hesitation, said no. And as we speak, I think he's still in America. Notwithstanding the fact that the almighty Donald Trump wants him immediately removed from the U.S. So I want to assure Abu Trika that where he had been moved to, it's not a place you call Banana Republic. His rights, if it's legitimately established that he committed no such offense, I have no doubt at all in my mind that the American courts will vindicate him at the end of the day. That notwithstanding, I believe that maybe going forward, the rules on the extradition ought to be properly spelled out. Thankfully, we have a legislation in Ghana that govern some of these undertakings, so that going forward, some of this, and I always say that, you see, we are building a democracy. I was listening to Senior Pebu.
Yes.
And Pebu talked about the Dombo, Interior Minister.
Yeah.
If you recall, even March, by 1957, you know Kroboduse.
Yes, he to the same.
Balogun and the rest. Eduse.
Yes.
And I recall vividly, you know, in those times, the courts will stop the deportation.
Yeah.
And immediately what Kroboduse would do is that he would go to Parliament and get Parliament to pass the usual ad hominem. Yes, and usually pass the ad hominem legislations.
Yes.
So while the matter is in court, you will go to Parliament, and Parliament will pass a specific law, Amadou Balogun Act, specific to Deportation Act.
Amadou Balogun Act.
Okay.
So that is how things had shaped, even from 1957, when Kroboduse was the Interior Minister. And the courts, even in those times, were very, very angry. I think Kroboduse was even convicted for contempt. In fact, he was. He was. The High Court at that time convicted him for contempt of court, as even Interior.
And then they rushed to Parliament and then
cover it. To cover it.
Parliament cannot pass the law to.
So you see, so if you see, it is based on that Kroboduse experience. When the 1979 Constitution was being crafted, they then put in it that Parliament cannot pass a law to override a decision of the courts. Two, then 92 Constitution also brought it in. And so today, if a matter is in court and the legislature and the executive are not happy, they cannot quickly pass a law to override that judicial pronouncement. It is based on and the effect of that application. And based on that checkered history, when we're putting the 1992 Constitution together, we put some of this to serve as a check. Because legitimately, as human as we are, there's always the tendency to repeat some of these past mistakes. So I strongly believe that this Abu Trika matter, maybe government took a position that, look, we want to send a message forcefully that will not provide a shield for persons who have been found to have engaged in such conduct. And in this case, maybe there's a greater good in protecting the image of the Republic as not being a safe haven for such misdeeds or not. Regrettable as the due process mechanism may appear to have been truncated, we want to do a balancing act and see whether in the circumstance the justification for such speedy extradition is worth it. I think I will yield back.
And especially, yes, and the
Especially because salvation, as we see, is the opportunity for Abu to mobilize the necessary resources and opportunities to defend himself. And I very much believe that, given the opportunity, he will be able to, bring the evidence to his favor. And indeed, the onus is on the American judiciary or American government prosecution to ensure that they provide the necessary evidence that will lead to conviction. Otherwise, he remains, not a criminal at this point. And it is going to be very difficult for them to so establish. So, given the fact that he has also been given the opportunity to engage counsel of his choice, he should be given. If there is counsel, the counsel must be upon his choice or approval.
And I think that even with the release on this matter, it's quite clear that they have indicated that this indictment is only a charge. It's not the evidence of guilt. Essentially.
Let's not dwell too much on it too.
Why?
Because listen, before they come,
make sure that he's
they are just if I just be giving one, they are just trying to placate us. Listen, before they will spend resources saying they want the person, they would have been 150% confident of a conviction. So this is just placatory. That's how come. Let me finish.
It is in their law.
Yes. That one. These are laws.
That's African extradition law.
What about our extradition?
Yes.
Yes, but he's talking about opportunities in America as he goes through prosecution. And I'm saying that which
they will even get him a defender.
That which is coming from.
Oh no, it doesn't necessarily follow. Just to add to what Martin, you talk. Let me just make this clear. Why American legal system? Are we not aware of things that happen there?
Exactly.
I mean, first of all, even black people, the way they are treated in their legal system. Secondly, a Ghanaian who has defrauded an American citizen, alleged to have. So let us not make it automatic. Let's not make it automatic that the American legal system is necessarily better than ours. Because even in our case, and we're all agreed, we're all agreed here. We're all agreed here that it was hasty. That one, even all of us, even government is saying that, look, let's have an open mind. His personal opinion. Then he gave an explanation of the government situation, all of that. And I wanted to use the opportunity in terms of information because the listeners are there. This has been raised to an extent by both Martin and Amanda. Is it coincidental? And I was thinking you ask him further probing questions. Is it coincidental with the AG's visit in America? That as soon as they came, there seems to be some haste. Can you tell us more? You know, ask the questions.
Hold on.
No. Alfred, I beg. Let me land.
You asked of me.
You should be able to.
Hold on.
No. The visit.
Hold on.
Wait, I'm coming. Let me
reference something. Let me just say.
But I haven't landed. Let me land.
That he has some
Mr. Kansi, sometimes you too. You must also be able to be fair. Look, I'm just saying. So that question, that visit, because that issue was not addressed. That visit recently, was there any sort of pressure that was given to us? Hence, the U-turn of this speedy thing, all of a sudden in July, between 2nd to 9th, done. Whereas before, yes, we agree with all the examples he gave, that the government is showing that they are serious and all of that. And that's why all the boat case and all of that. Yes, that was done within a reasonable time. The processes were exhausted. But we are just asking this AG visit. And if so, what is the government's position on such things also not occurring again in future? We just want to know.
Thank you. Now, but you had the person.
May I with respect intervene here?
Quickly.
You see, at the level where these conversations, you get them in the America and here. These are not matters for disclosures. There's no evidence on record that the visit.
But if you don't disclose, I'm just saying, if you don't disclose, you allow speculation.
With respect. You see, if the meeting the Attorney General actually had with the FBI, and the FBI, I think, posted it, the Justice Department or so, relative to commitments to ensure that transnational, transborder crimes and others are nipped in the bud. I do not know the specifics. That Abu Trike's extradition was specifically discussed. As I sit here, if I say I know it, I will be peddling falsehood. The point I am making strongly is that a lot of factors come into this conversation. We can do a post facto in terms of argument as to whether it was properly procedurally right or not. That is a legitimate exercise that we can engage in. And I have also said that the lawyer in me tells me that the due process ought to have been exhausted fully. Granting him that opportunity also advances the democratic credentials of the country. That in Ghana, there is greater respect for ABCD. Like we
understand that.
Kanayama and Co.
I understand
went
exactly.
through that.
No,
10
you
years.
Just because you see that same question put differently, which you didn't hear, Michael Kwesi. He responds to say that, look, he some decisions and some conversations, he doesn't sit
beyond. So NPP miracles abuaje abusuya ne ho na ache na abusuya enye asem keto Accra NPP for omoyese release miracles abuaje now enti breaking no na ye de bremo ene Abu Trika ebramase samoje pede kokoti sa ensem we ademaya ha gossip politics TV so medamase.